Yeah, Dr. Bosworth began his education in the University of Michigan and graduated with bachelor's degree in political science. And later, he earned his PhD. So he is fluent in English and Spanish, of course, a few Chinese.
Very little.
Okay. So he has lived in 10 countries around the world. So it is his expertise in his lecture topic that we ask to share his knowledge, particularly about living in China. So now please help me welcome Dr. Bosworth.
Thank you very much. My name is Andrew, and I'd like to talk about the advantages of living in China, studying in China. Because this is a world economy we live in today, a globalized system. And companies, governments, we're all interacting with each other. So my belief is that it's important for students and even faculty to internationalize their resumes and their experience. And China is a perfect place to do this because China is an important country. It's not comparable to doing a study abroad experience in Florence, Italy, or something, because that's kind of old hat. China is a superpower, has the largest population on the planet, 1.3 plus billion. It's in the transition now of having the largest economy in the world, and so it's important to understand China from the inside. That also gives us insight into the Chinese-American relationship because it's a complicated relationship, as a lot of us know. On the one hand, the people-to-people connections are very strong. They've been strong for years. There's a natural affinity between the Chinese people and American people. And this is discovered by our students and faculty in China. People will receive you with intense interest and enthusiasm in China. You will be stopped on the street, asked where you're from, how you doing, can we take a picture? Very interested in Americans. And that being said, our two governments have some tensions over islands and Hong Kong and things. So we live in a very kind of complicated context for this relationship. It's important to know what it's like in China. So our Chengdu American Center has the advantage of providing for 3 different experiences in one package: academic, internship, and student life. And our academic experience is such that students can come to the center and take core classes in criminal justice, psychology, business, social sciences that count for credit pre-approved back in their home universities. It's also true that you can take Mandarin, Chinese food and culture, and all these other kind of cultural classes to get more insight into China. Our professors are from Norwich, FDU, American University, Concordia, and our students are also from many different settings, including this institution. So the other thing I'd like to mention is in our classes, we invite Sichuan University students to come and take our classes with you. So you will be in a class, say intercultural communication, and there could easily be 4 or 5 Chinese students with you, and that allows for a certain kind of new dynamic. Some of our Chinese faculty that come and join the center are fascinating. We've had Professor Liu, who's lived through the Cultural Revolution and has all kinds of amazing stories, firsthand eyewitness to many things. So it's a rich academic experience. And the other thing I'd like to say is about the internships. Our center provides you a chance to get an internship in China and to work with a company or a school. A lot of our students choose to teach English as a second language to high schools, or to tutor English to corporate executives, or to do the editing of English for law firms and so forth. Now we're moving into high tech, like internships, software developers. We've had students work with the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and we've also had students work with disabled foundations for disabled people. So, and Taylor, who's done that, now has a State Department job with the Global Initiative for Disabled Foundations. One thing leads to another, and that's why it's important, I think, to have an experience in China. The Chengdu American Center is the kind of resume builder that would show up at least 2 or 3 times on a resume. Right under the bachelor's degree, there is Chengdu American Center with Sichuan University, one of the top 10 universities in China, with your course listings and so forth. And also the internship under professional experience. This is a professional experience. Many of these internships are paid. Not great, but it's definitely extra money in China. So these are 2 chances on your resume to highlight a foreign study abroad experience in China. And when students are in an interview, this is a perfect conversation starter, a talking point. They will notice, they will ask you about it. Now you have something to talk about. And Chengdu, we have more than half of the Fortune 500 companies in Chengdu. And so that leads me to the third important thing, which is life. We have academics, internship, and extracurricular life. Most of our students, all of them, come to China and discover something they love about China or their own interest and passion in China. In my case, I pursued photography, and that in the Chinese context, it's very kind of beautiful. I also discovered rugby when I've been there, so I'm on a rugby team. Even though I'm twice as old as all the other players, I like the game. I'm kind of good at it compared to the other sports that I'm not good at. We always have 1 or 2 center students play this game, and there's a women's team also. We've had students come over and discover food and cooking, Sichuan cuisine, with these Top Chef style things going on. We have competitions in town. We have students come over and do calligraphy with these giant brushes, where they learn to draw Chinese characters on canvas and things. We've had students do Tai Chi, yoga, soccer, and travel. We had a couple of Norwich students who were, every weekend, they went to the train station and tried to get to a new place. They went even camping on a glacier in Tibet, is what they managed to do. So we do encourage you to explore and discover your own personal China and to travel. Fortunately, China is an extremely safe country to study in and to travel in. There's a lot of public infrastructure that's very safe. There's police and authorities, their presence everywhere. They have a very low crime rate. It's extremely low, especially for violent crime. I can literally walk anywhere in Chengdu, in any neighborhood, at any time of night, and be perfectly safe. And so we haven't had any issues of student safety the entire time we've been there. So we sometimes have other issues like student laziness or something, but not student safety. But that's human nature being what it is. We all sometimes. But our center is there to be the most proactive, engaged institution that we can provide for students. And it's been well received. We have a lot of, I want to show a couple of photographs if I can. Maybe this one. This, by the way, is the view from my apartment. I live on the 23rd floor of a building overlooking Sichuan University, the newer social science university, not the medical, we're on the medical one. I also teach a few classes here, which is great for our center because one of my classes, 120 students in linguistics, they're all on my WeChat. I bring them routinely over to the center for Thanksgiving, for all these different events. So we have a buddy system, and our buddies at Sichuan come over and kind of, meet students of our own, and you end up having Chinese buddies. Nice. This is how new and kind of cosmopolitan Chengdu really is. This is the kind of the Raffles City Mall, very close to our center. You can walk there in 10 minutes. This goes down, it goes up, it's Starbucks, there's everything you can imagine. And the infrastructure looks and feels like Tokyo or something. I had never been to Chengdu. I went with no idea, and it is new China. It's a very new city. 10 years ago, Chengdu was smaller, and it's come up very quickly. That being said, you can still see old China here and there, with these guys with ox carts and sacks of coal and bicycle stands that sell fruit and things. And old China is in the middle of all this, and that's not the case in Shanghai or Beijing. Those cities are only new China's left. But Chengdu, out west, we're way out west, we still have we have a Tibetan quarter in the city, and so forth. Next. This is a bridge called the Nine Eyes Bridge, I believe. Or that's near the Nine Eyes Bridge, on the Chengdu River. Next. This is our campus in the old Sichuan University Medical Campus. These buildings are, done in the old style, the dynastic imperial style. So when you are at the American Center, you feel like you're in an old movie about China or something. There's ponds and gardens everywhere. It's quite a nice place. Next. This is one of our classrooms, and some classes are very small, 4 or 5 students. Others are 15 to 20 students. We don't have classes larger than 20 that I can remember. Next. This is Mandy, who works in our office. Next. This is an example of an internship. He had an elementary school teaching English with all kinds of fun activities and recreation. Next. This is another professional development internship field trip. We went to visit this guy. He's from Holland. This is his company. They take Fortune 500 executives and give them apartments and get them office space and legal papers and pay their taxes. And it's partly through this guy that we know so many corporate people now. We have a corporate network in China with the Fortune 500, especially the European people, the French, the Dutch, the Germans, the Italians. We know all those executives now. So we can get our students into these companies. Next. This is our field trip. GMEO is our director at the center. Next. Director with Sarah. Every semester we take a trip. All of us go together someplace. Usually it's to Xi'an. This coming fall, though, we're going to the Northwest Silk Roads, oasis cities, where you can see the Great Wall and built out of sand bricks and stuff like that. But this is Julius. He's there for about 3 years. Next. These are all pictures from Xi'an. Next. This is actually Chengdu. This is a Buddhist monastery, and they're really more historic sites. There's some Buddhism in China, but the bulk of the population is secular. Next. This is an example of the Muslim quarter in Xi'an. It's a neighborhood where there's a lot of street cooking and treats and desserts and barbecue, and they make taffy, all kinds of things. Yeah. Xi'an's Terracotta Warriors, famous. That's our rugby team, and the reason I put it up here is I wanted to show that when you choose an extracurricular activity in Chengdu, like football, rugby, tai chi, yoga, all these things, you're not just dealing with the American students of the center, nor with just the Chinese students that you know. There are a lot of third country young people who are this guy is from Sweden. He's from New York City. He was with our center. He's from Holland, Ireland. The 2 French guys who were the backbone of the team, the 9 with the ball throwing into the 10. So the team had to learn basic French because they dominated the play. This guy's from Russia. This guy, me, of course, California guy, England, and Japan. And the one Chinese player we have on the team was taking the picture. So, but this is, and then when we go play all these, we travel around China. We're semi-professional. We get paid to travel around China. We get our airfare and hotel. We go to Shanghai, we go to Kunming, Chongqing, Wuhan, and their teams are similarly diversified with all kinds of people. But the Shanghai team, to their credit and their benefit and their great luck, they have a lot of Samoans on the team, medical students who are yay high, like legs like that. Amazing. But there's an international set of people in sports in China, Australians, New Zealanders, depends on your sport and what you do for fun. But when you go traveling, to Mount Uma, to Tibetan regions of Sichuan, you will meet all kinds of Westerners, backpackers. You see them in the city, especially, Tex-Mex restaurants and all these things, and you have immediate connection because, we are foreign students, foreign professors in China, so there's a lot to talk about. Almost everyone, maybe next, everyone that I know in our center loves Chinese food, and they have 4 traditions of it in Chengdu. There's the hot pot, there's the barbecue, there's the dishes, and then there's the Muslim noodles, which is kind of a nationwide phenomenon. It's a Uyghur group that has fanned out across China to make noodle shops. That being said, I eat Chinese food every day, but maybe once a week I will go to a Chinese version of Western food or a Western restaurant, Grandma's Kitchen, the Bookworm, the Shamrock pub, or Man Coffee, which I think these are actually Chinese improvements on Western desserts.
Kind of pricey.
Yeah, kind of pricey. That's the thing, But normally, food in China is very inexpensive, especially Chengdu. $1 for lunch, $1 for breakfast, $2 for lunch, and $3 for dinner. I rarely spend more than $4 or $5 for dinner. But when I go to the Western places, it's more for social reasons, or then you have to pay more. And I think there's this idea that in China, the coffee, being a foreign luxury, should be expensive. Like, they charge you extra just because it's a luxury item, like perfume or something. So a $5 or $6 cup of coffee is common in China, but especially some of these kind of fancy places. So if you do love coffee, bring your own. Everything else is very affordable. Next. This is one sample of my photography. I like taking spontaneous, random snapshots of people. This is kind of one that I like. Next. And this is our Thanksgiving celebration. Next. And this is also Xi'an. I wanted to give the sense of the scale of China, the size of China. It's huge, and even its historical sites are large. This palace goes on and on and on, right? And that, I think, is one of the most fascinating things about being in China for me. I'm very interested in cities and urbanization and megacities. And to see a giant city like Chengdu, 15 million people, more people than New York City, and I'd never heard of it 4 years ago. To see that kind of a city, how it's laid out, how it's organized, is fascinating. Then you get on a speed train, 2 hours later, you're in Chongqing, and guess what? It's another city of 15 million people. Sichuan province, one little western province of China, is the same population as France. It's a huge place. The scale is vast. And that's important, I think, to internalize in your experience when you get over there. It's one thing to read about China. It's another thing to stay there for a few months and really get it in your system. It becomes part of who you are, your knowledge base. And in this world, a lot of you I know have traveled extensively and have lived in from other countries, but living and working and studying in China is particularly important because of the place China is assuming in the world right now, in this multipolar world that we live in. And also this new effort to reorganize Asia with, today, China opened up this train system across Kazakhstan and the Stans and Iran. It's now going to go into Turkey and Europe, and another system is going through Mongolia and Russia. And so China is linking Asia together. It's stitching it together with a port system also. So all of this is huge for business, companies, entrepreneurs. And my final, thought is that for some students, it's enough to go to China for 1 semester, come back. Well, that was great. I loved it. I'm glad I went. But others were want to go back, and they go back. Austin from Carroll University is getting a BA, and he's moving to Hong Kong. He got a job with a BA teaching English at a university in Hong Kong because he's oral English and so forth. He's just one example. There are other examples. China is a career choice. It's option, life options. My father always used to tell me, well, apply to that too, do that also. Life's all about options. You want options, right? Plan A, plan B, plan C. By spending 3.5 months in China, you will have options. Chinese people, your friends, Chinese teachers, will come up to you and say, hey, if you change your mind, want to come back to China, call me because I have an English institute and I need people like you to teach in it. Right, there you go. Doesn't hurt. So I do have a 3-minute YouTube video that gives you a kind of a better look and feel of our center. It touches some of the points I have mentioned. You'll see a few familiar images.
I did study Mandarin here for 1 semester. I would say that my Mandarin is good enough where I can go out and understand a good majority of what people are saying, but also I can utilize it in interactions with people who speak Chinese.
Okay, this frisbee was given by my previous student. I love teaching, and I feel this is the most beautiful part of my life.
The Chengdu American Center is unique because it allows students to continue with their studies and their major while on a study abroad program.
This semester I interned at Zhongbei Elementary School where I taught 6 and 7-year-olds English. They were adorable.
The internship experience here with the Chengdu American Center is quite special actually. Not only do the students get the experience on the ground, whether it's at places such as Lafarge, the cement company, Deheng Law Firm, to name a few, but we also have supervisors that will guide them throughout the whole semester.
I interned at Chengdu Vocational High School and I taught 3 English classes, and I can honestly say I learned just as much from them as they learned from me. So it was a great experience as well. My first time teaching.
I got to intern at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in downtown Chengdu.
At the Deheng Law Office here in the high-tech zone, which is pretty cool because they're a huge multinational firm, very prominent center of wealth and power. And I get to go there and hang out with all the suits. And
the Chengdu American Center for Study Abroad wants our students to really integrate themselves into the Chinese life.
We had a home game here in Chengdu. I played in Chongqing, Xiamen.
The nightlife scene is truly unbelievable. I haven't experienced anything quite like it.
Well, every semester we have a cultural excursion where we take the students to a particular part of China. Last semester we were able to go see Leshan, the giant Buddha, and this semester we decided to bring the students to Xi'an to see the terracotta warriors, to see the city wall, and see the giant wild goose pagoda.
So how did you enjoy your experience in Chengdu? What was the best thing about it?
Okay.
She was one of our star students. Always a smile on her face, always doing well in classes. But what was your daily life like? What did you like about your daily routine?
Okay, so I guess my daily life was like, well, I had a teaching internship at Chengdu Vocational High School also. So I was an English teacher. On Mondays and Wednesdays, I would basically teach about 7 classes of 40 students. I was taking 4 classes. I took electives, mainly classes like race and ethnic relations, human trafficking, the Chinese economy, and classes that were pretty easygoing. I would go shopping. There's a lot of places to shop. There are a lot of malls that are pretty cheap. There are also shopping bazaars.
So that was your hobby, is shopping.
Yeah, shopping.
We also have a lot of people discover Taobao shopping, which is online shopping, and they deliver. Did you do any Taobao?
No, I didn't. No. But yeah, I did a lot of shopping, bargain shopping. That was a great thing about it. And China was just great. It was an illuminating experience. I met so many friends, my classmates at the Chengdu American Center, and also Chinese friends that I met. I also met a lot of friends from like Nepal, India, different countries in Africa like Namibia, Cameroon, and Nigeria, and places like that. And we still keep in touch on WeChat. And
at the medical school in Sichuan, there are literally hundreds, maybe a few thousand Indian and Sri Lankan medical students. And last year, I don't know if you know this, but we have these regular basketball tournaments with them. And they won. They took away our trophy. They have the first prize now. So we are going to have a serious basketball team this coming semester and get that back. We want to get it back. Even though it was great to watch them win because the court was surrounded by like 500 Indian students, and they were all going completely haywire when they won it. So we got to see them celebrate massively. But so we're going to do that. We're going to get it back. We're going to put that back in the case of the Chengdu American Center sometime. So, all right. Well, thanks so much.
no problem.
And so, in a nutshell, I just think it's a great experience. I also want to add that for many students studying abroad in China, in Chengdu, can be at the same price. You've had students have it lower, even, than a normal semester in the United States. And we had one student, Austin in Carroll, who claims to have made a profit by being in China.
If you do it right, you can make money on it.
Yes, exactly. A lot of scholarships kick in. I'm not the money guy. I don't want to go through the list. But our New York office, they can tell you exactly, and some of our study abroad people here too, what applies. Federal aid, certain kinds of grants, loans, scholarships. The mayor's office in Chengdu, they give students money as they're completing their time there as a kind of reward. So at the end of the day, it's not an expensive place to be. Airfare is collapsing. You can fly there and back now for $1,000. It used to be a lot more expensive.
I saw it for $700 yesterday.
Really? Wow. That's great.
Wow.
I'm always overpaying my
Also,
airfare. Yeah. See, it's getting very cheap. And once you get there, things are quite inexpensive. They have been for a couple of years. Now, if you take ATM from your dollar account and get it converted into RMB, your money goes even farther because the Chinese money has lost some value against the dollar. So you sometimes make a little bit of money with your internships, or people pay you a little bit for extra tutoring. That sometimes happens. That RMB you can always use to walking around money, coffee money, things like that. But it's a low stress. You see, Chengdu is not devoted to finance or manufacturing or politics. Chengdu, the reason we have such a low stress city is because it's about entertainment, food, the Panda Center, right? This is a place for people from all over China to come for long weekends. So as my son would say, the place is pretty chill. So, it's a good place to be in a study abroad program. We have a strong academic component, but we make most people do a lot of the work and activities in the class because we realize that after class, people don't have a lot of time for maybe some reading, but not a lot of time because you have your internships and you have your other experiences. So it's a balanced program. It's perfect for being in China. The main reason is to discover China and to experience China. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I've been a great audience. So thank you for coming and listening and watching. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
How easy was it for you to go from Chengdu to other provinces? I mean, could you consider Chengdu kind of a hub since it's near the center of the country?
It's becoming a hub, but the reason it's becoming a hub for like India, flights to Thailand, flights to, but the reason even though it's in the center of the country, it's not a major hub because there's not much to the west of the country except for Tibet. we're the largest western city in China. So after us, there's nothing. Very small towns up the Silk Roads. But it's still an important city. It's still Sichuan province is a major province. It's still important. But flying within China is cheap. You can fly $200-300 round trip to most cities. So it sounds like you've been to China.
I was looking at the flights last night.
Yeah. Also, you can get on these bullet trains that they have now.
Yes.
When I first went to Chongqing for a rugby tournament, I was on the slow train. It was like 4 or 5 hours, And then last year, the train station has been renamed. I'm a little bit frustrated. What do you mean they have 2 north? Well, the other one's across the street. Really? 2 North Chengdu train stations? How's that possible? Or Chongqing? Well, it turns out one's bullet. You can get there in 2 hours. So it's fast. They have that now all over China. Great infrastructure. The airports are nice too. So I'm very impressed with it. The subway system, we have a card. It's not the little, I'm having trouble with New York subways. Maybe 1 out of 3 times it doesn't work, or it does work, or whatever. But it always works, and it's safe. They even check your bag on a conveyor, like at the airport. Get on the subway. So it's a great country, and I hope to see some of you there. If you want more detail and questions about our program, we can contact our New York office, Amanda. But we work in tandem with your Office of Study Abroad here, right? So we make it possible and easy for you as possible to come over here. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.